is up? Yee! We getting it, boy.
What's good? You know who it is. It's your boy, Jay in the Bay.
Your baller back again. Smells like football season.
Yo. Whoa.
What's up, YouTube? Straight Out of the Bay is back again. You know, we're going to recap this game between the Niners and the Vikings. Oh, man. It was frustrating, at least for me. But, Amin, how'd that game make you feel? But more importantly, how you doing?
I'm all right. I mean, it's a Monday night. We get Monday Night Football, which was cool. That game, Eagles, Falcons, the end of that game, back and forth a little bit. The Falcons, I thought they were going to pull it off. But, Saquon dropped a wide open 3rd and 3. And then they kick a field goal in the Falcons. Darnell Mooney looking like wide receiver 1 over there in Atlanta. Baller Mean, you were talking about it backstage with, people were talking about Drake London, fantasy breakout year, Kyle Pitts, get him on your team. But Darnell Mooney looking like a stud throughout the first 2 weeks, looking like a wide receiver 1 over there. But I'm all right. And Niners, Vikings, that was aggravating. That was aggravating to watch. I was like, what is happening throughout this entire game? Sloppy. Not great, but it's still early on in the season, but can't complain.
No doubt. Kelts, how you feeling?
Hey, man, blessed by the best. It's a Monday, and in the Celts household, it's been a good Monday, man. So I can't complain too much, but it does suck to watch our Niners lose no matter what. And like Amin said, hey, it's early on. So, hey, man, I think we all kind of expected a little bit of a bumpy ride, and hey, we're here. So 1-1, nothing to be too concerned about, I don't think.
No, we weren't. None of us were expecting the Niners to go undefeated. Although this game did kind of catch me off guard, and the defense the Vikings put out there really gave Purdy some struggles. I'm sure you guys saw it post game, but he told defensive coordinator Florio that he was like, "Your scheme is crazy," right? And we kind of saw that, man. But before we get to the negative, I like to start out with the positive, right? Let's talk about what we did like. I'll just kick it off with one. I'm gonna start out with JP Mason. We were talking before the season, who's going to be the breakout for the 49ers? And I said, look, I don't want McCaffrey to miss any games. I don't want him to be injured. But if it happens, if he misses some time, this dude, JP Mason, is extremely talented and just runs so tough, fights for yards, great vision. We saw it again, and he did tote the rock 20 times, which it's a lot, right? It's a lot, but it's like no one else got carries. Like who else? Isaac Arendo got a carry. Debo got a couple carries, negative 10 yards. Damn. But it was the vast majority was Jordan Mason. But guys, I almost wanted to feed him even more. Like he's averaging 5 yards a clip, right? And even, man, starting out the game, pass. I didn't like that mentality, but anyway, that's negative. We're supposed to be talking about the positive here. So JP Mason, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he ran for more yards than what the offense was blocking. Kyle loves to use that term. But give me something positive, because no doubt that game, I still got a sour taste in my mouth about it. But what was something you guys liked from this game?
Hey, we might as well, we're all going to take turns on this. But Fred Warner, man, I mean, my God, on this show, going back last year, we've already been pounding, hey, man, we're not just watching all-pro Fred. It looks like we're watching Hall of Fame Fred. And, that game could have easily been, I mean, we seen a 14-point swing when we didn't get the, touchdown, and then they go, or no, wait, hold on. That's a whole different point, but it could have, it was about to be, I think 20, they were about to go in 27-7 on us, and he punches it out. And so, it stays a 20-7 game. And I threw out a tweet where I was like, Fred Warner 14 and the Vikings 20, because that's what it felt like. He's just he's a different dude. And when I really look at Fred Warner, like the one thing that separates, I feel like the greatest dudes and maybe someone a level below is when they don't have a weakness, and when you really look at Fred's game, from off the field, the leader, the voice, like there's not one thing that you could really point to where Fred Warner and be like, he's lacking. And when you start building,
Facts.
when you don't have weaknesses and you start building on just perfecting your craft, I mean, it feels like he might get 20 punch outs this year. But it's taken till year 8 to, I feel like, really dial it in to where it's like he's not even thinking about the punch out no more. It's just coming natural, that sharp right cross and the interceptions. And I mean, it's like what I feel like sometimes Fred is so smart, he doesn't even, I don't want to say he holds back, but I think he picks and chooses his times when, like, he's gonna really explode on someone, or, he's missed one game. And I did put out a tweet yesterday where I said he's played 100 straight games. I had to delete the tweet. I go do research, but he did miss one game, like at his 59 game mark. But he played his 100th. He's only missed one game in his career. That's pretty
That's
incredible.
crazy. That's crazy.
Pretty for a middle linebacker. And I mean, Dre Greenlaw would get the kind of glory for being the thumper, and being the tone setter. But I mean, Fred Warner, I mean, he's nothing to sneeze at. He's coming full throttle too. He's flying to it, and for him to play his style and to guard the way he does, in the past game as well, it's just incredible on all levels. And I love that he's like such a smart dude. You know what I'm saying? Like he knows when to turn it on and turn it off. And he seems like such a good guy. Congratulations, becoming a new father and all that. And it's just a privilege, real talk. Fred Warner.
He does it all. I mean, you
Does
said
it
it
all.
right there, Kelsey. He has no weaknesses.
None.
And that's why he's the best linebacker in the game.
Like
he gets downhill. Yeah.
Not even with the media. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not even with,
No, he's a great dude. Like I don't know him personally, but he seems just like a great human being, which obviously just makes you like him even more. But yeah, the way Fred, he can get downhill and light up a running back in the backfield, yet he's also awesome in coverage, right? You see some of those safety skills from college, and the way he just like that leaping interception, like that's coordination. Not many linebackers can make a leaping interception over the middle like that. Like
real talk.
Fred's awesome. I mean, you spoke to it incredibly there. And then the punches, like, yeah, he punched it out for Aaron Jones. Like that game could have gotten ugly if the Vikings scored a touchdown there, know, but huge turnover. But did Fred also like knock another ball out like Sam Darnold? It ended up going out of bounds, but I could have sworn like he knocked another ball out. Like this dude's just knocking balls out left and right. And the man, the myth, the legend has arrived. Oh, hold on. Let's switch this up real quick. Oh boy,
that's like the sign language for Jay and the
there
Bay. If he's coming.
What's good? How y'all doing, man?
What's up, Jay?
Hey, nothing much, man. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Hey,
man.
Feeling great. We're kind of touching on some of the positives before we got to the negatives. But Jay, hey, how are you doing first and foremost? And what's maybe one positive that you could take from this game?
Man, it was a hectic Monday, but a positive I could take from the game was that it was only week 2, and if this is our worst game of the season, I'll take that. Hell of an atmosphere in Minnesota. Minnesota came to play. It's crazy that we haven't won there since '92. It's super weird, but you got to give credit to Minnesota. I mean, it's funny. I heard something on the radio. When a team plays well, it makes you look bad. And that was kind of the blueprint of this game, how to lose a game. But we're supposed to stick with the positive, right? Deebo Samuel was incredible. I mean, I know some people don't want him to run the ball, but you kind of have to spell Jordan Mason a little bit. And Isaac Guerrero, 1 carry, and then he's on the sideline. Like I would have loved to see a little bit more from Deebo, even if we know when he runs the ball, he doesn't get the chunk plays, but just him being physical. And I love what he did. Led the team with catches. I don't know offhand how many catches he had, but every time Brock was throwing the ball, it was going to number one. I just would have. We'll talk about the negative, but Debo was incredible. And Kittle was there. Juice was solid. We just needed more. We didn't get enough, but we needed more. But yeah, my positive for the game was Debo. He was incredible.
Yeah, Debo was awesome, and I guess we'll get to some Debo news a bit later. But positives. Yeah. I mean, did you get your positive in there?
Nah, I did not. My positive, Jair Brown and George Odom, 2 positives from yesterday's game. Nah, I'm playing. JJ's eyes were like, what are you talking about? Did you not watch the game yesterday?
Hell no. To the no. Yeah, to the no.
No, that wasn't it.
Yeah, nah. Positives, Fred Warner. I mean, Kels, you touched on it and you hit the nail on the hammer right there. But Fred Warner, leader on and off the field. You saw post game the way that he was speaking to the media and said, like, nah, this team is real. I love the way this team fights, and we know we got to make some improvements and be better. And I expect us to do that, and I expect us to respond. Leader off the field, leader on the field. The Sam Darnold punch out at the goal line, Aaron Jones punch out, the interception. Fred Warner, no matter, even if the team lost, like, the one player that all you could do is control your effort out there. Every Sunday, every game you play, all you could do is control what you do in that game, right? In every game, in any situation, how you handle every particular situation. That's the only thing you have control over is how you handle certain situations. And Fred Warner went out there and he played his heart out. And not only is that, as a fan watching that, show you, like, is that just inspiring from Fred Warner, but even as a player and as a teammate, you see a leader, one of the best players on your team, go out, and even if you're losing, right? Like the Niners, Aaron Jones, they're moving down the field, like 90% chance that's going to end up in a touchdown or a field goal. It's going to end up in some points, but Fred Warner's fighting still with that same energy, trying to punch out the ball, ends up getting the forced fumble. Like, even if you're a teammate, like, how can you not respect that, right? So Fred Warner, I mean, a huge positive from yesterday's game, and I mean, I'm just grateful the Niners, like, I didn't get to see too much of Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman, but one thing, at least this last decade and even last decade a little bit, the Niners have had all-pro Hall of Fame linebackers, and not just one of them, 2 of them. Even now, like in Dre Greenlaw, I think the way that his career is going, if he comes back from that Achilles and comes back even with 80% of what he was, the Niners have 2 studs, could end up being future Hall of Famer. Fred Warner, I think, by the time his career is said and done, will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But Fred Warner, great effort. Jordan Mason was obviously another positive, even with the absence of Christian McCaffrey. 20 touches, 100 yards, a touchdown. But, like, Kyle, give him the ball more, Kyle. Like, it's not just because I have him in the Straight Out of the Bay Fantasy League. It's just also, like, 3rd and 1. At the goal line yesterday, it was 14-21 at the end zone. Why are we throwing screen passes to Debo? Like, does Kyle have Debo on his fantasy team? And I don't know, because, like, most coaches, if they have a baby Marshawn Lynch on a 3rd and 1 situation or near the goal line or on a 3rd and 2, you give it a baby Marshawn Lynch who'll fight for that first down. But instead, Kyle didn't do that. But even then, even in kind of not like the first week where Jordan Mason was going crazy and getting a bunch of touches, even in a game where I felt like Jordan Mason could have had a bigger workload to still put up 100 yards, 20 carries, I think average like 5 yards per carry, Jordan Mason had himself a game. So credit to Fred and Jordan Mason.
And I wanted to say real quick about Fred Warner. It hit my mind. I was watching Baldy breakdown of Fred Warner, I think, versus the Jets. And they just show this one play in coverage. And hey, anyone who's watching, props to y'all. Man, much love to all y'all. Hey, go check out Baldy breakdown, on Twitter. And he put the breakdown versus Aaron Rodgers. Fred is starting to go out to the flat with the running back or whoever it was. But just the way he this just shows how intelligent he is. It's like he put his feet like where the running back was, but then you could tell he was still more. It's almost like he baited. It is what he did. He baited Aaron Rodgers into thinking he was just going to run with him when he knew in that split second, as soon as his eyes went away from him, like Rodgers thought, oh, okay, he's going with him. And he's already coming the other direction and shuts down that play. I know Aaron Rodgers was probably thinking that was almost impossible, but I urge you guys to go watch a Baldy breakdown to check out the play I'm talking about, because it just shows you the intelligence. And when that thing is slowed down like that and he's doing that, it's like, that's next level. It's not just the biggest, fastest, strongest. You got to be intelligent and know, because it was just impressive. Next time, I'll do a better job. Maybe I'll bring the clip, but good job explaining it. I mean, because you brought that back, and that was a real good breakdown right there.
Yeah, I remember they were asking A-Rod about the Niners and the defense, and one of the first things he said was, "It's that defense starts with 54." So it's like Rodgers knows, throughout these battles these guys have had, it's like, hey man, Fred Warner out there, he's a monster. And last thing I wanted to mention on Kenny says, y'all give Mason way too much credit. I don't think so, Kenny. I think Mason has been balling out of control, running his tail off. And one thing that we didn't compliment that I want to add on is I thought he was awesome in pass protection. Like they were sending some heat. Flores was bringing the heat. And while, Kyle might not have the best blitz beaters out there, that we can talk about that in a minute. But when the heat was coming and Mason was asked to pass protect, I thought he did awesome, kind of just stonewalling, a blitzing linebacker or DB, whatever it was. So Mason, I mean, he was definitely a positive. 20 carries, 100 yards, and it felt like, man, he should have got the rock even more.
Hey, undrafted, I don't think he could get enough credit. Undrafted playing the way he's playing. So, but we hear you, Kenny. Maybe it's you're hearing it from everywhere. Maybe that's all you're seeing is Mason. So
could be. Hey, but we appreciate everyone in the chat. Drop them comments because we'll be pulling comments up throughout the show. Now, the negative. I feel like there's probably some more negatives I think we could talk about than the positives. Mm-hmm. So, Jay, why don't we kick it off with you? And we're talking, what kind of frustrated you or what's a negative you took from this game?
I mean, talk about the difference of 2 weeks. You go into a hostile environment. The Vikings are feeling real good about themselves. They just beat the brakes off them good old Giants. What's the best way to kind of quiet the crowd? We got the kickoff first. To me, it seems like you would run the ball, right? Slow the game down. Run the ball with Mason. I think the first, I want to say 10 plays, maybe Mason carried the ball 2 or 3 times. And I just didn't think that was enough. I know Mason ended up with 20 carries, and that's solid. But if you only want to give Mason 20 carries, that's cool. Then you need to bring up Isaac G, give him more burn. Patrick Taylor, have him activated and give him more carries. But in a hostile environment like that, you're going to need to run the ball, take some pressure off of Purdy. I mean, when was the last time?
Mentality Purdy too.
6 times. Yeah. And you got to, and the Niners were out physical.
When you come out, pass, it's kind of setting the tone. The mentality should be, we're going to run the ball down your throat. Right. At least that's what it feels like. Anyway, not to cut.
And I don't understand why that changed from week 1, because week 1, that's what we did. We ran the ball. I don't know if it's, CMC is going to be out the next 4 weeks. We need to, watch how many carries we give to Mason. But Kyle's never been like that, right? Kyle's like, hey, we giving you 20, 25 carries week to week. And that's the best way for us to win the game. But for some reason, he didn't want to feed Jordan Mason early and often. And, that was frustrating to watch for sure, especially when the passing game wasn't working, especially when Brock Purdy didn't have time in the pocket to throw. Defenders were running, defenders were running to Purdy untouched. I don't know if that's a scheme thing, especially I saw at least 2 defenders run on Trent Williams' side. I don't know if the line needs to shift. I don't know if Brendo needs to call that out. I don't know if that's a Purdy thing. I don't know, but guys were running and they weren't.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean, Jay. They said 5, but it's like we got 5 blockers.
Right.
So if
someone's unblocked,
if we shifted the right way, that blitz could have been picked up. Right.
Right.
But
exactly.
It didn't happen. The slide
that was frustrating to watch. And that was frustrating to watch, but I'll leave some meat on the bone for the fellas. And if I don't hear one other thing, we'll circle back around.
Yeah,
But that was
what-
frustrating for me.
Hey, I do want to touch on what you're saying just about the rhythm. Hey, man, you want to establish the run, especially a hostile environment. You know, you might have to go silent, whatever it is. So that's a huge point, right?
Yeah.
But then let's go back to last week. It didn't. It started out, I think, just as shaky. You know, I don't think we got it together till the fourth drive. You know, I got a little bit of notes. I wish I would have wrote more, but you know, on the first drive, I think it was 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, and we passed it. And I think it was 3 and out. And then, man, just on my notes, it's like Kyle circled. What the F, Kyle circled. Second drive, third play, bad communication on 3rd and 7. What the F, Kyle? Like every time I'm trying to blame Kyle on every. No, but the point of it is it felt like Kyle both games in a row, and it gets glossed over with the first game because we won. It was just out of rhythm, out of sync, and it feels like, you know, that just kind of happens for whatever reason. I don't know if he's trying to go against the grain and do reverse psychology. Hey, but it feels like we always like to say, hey, you know, go to your strengths, you know, go to your strengths. Like, you know, I wrote a little thing out where it's like, you know, every single third down of the season so far has been in the shotgun, whether it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, it gets kind of predictable. And it's like, you know, why are we not getting in? I don't know. It's just the rhythm is off. It could be you know, blamed on CMC or contracts, or it's the beginning of the season, or but I mean, it's not hard to, you know, run the ball. You know, let's get an I formation. Why we would just going shotgun, 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 and you know, it's so that's the only point I wanted to touch on that. For the negatives, I mean, Bosa got his 2 sacks, but he was getting ran on. It feels like anytime they were running to his side, you know, he was just getting whether it was backside blockers or whatever. It just feels like there was a crease and there was a lane, and whether it was Chandler or whoever else, once they hit that outside, and you know, maybe it's a little worse than I'm thinking, but it was 2-3 good times where it just seemed like the edge was not set. It was completely collapsed. And you know, of course, and I don't even want to really look at the Jair Brown thing on the deep pass, because it's more like, well, where's Tavarius? Where's our very, very strong secondary? It's like you got Ward back there, you got Lenore back there, you know, put your best guy on their best guy and have them shadow him like we do with DK Metcalf, or you know, I don't know. It feels like there's always a few things in these losses where it's the obvious that could have been done just isn't. So maybe, like I said, maybe you want to be, maybe it's trying to trick Florio or Flores. My bad. It's Flores, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I always feel like. I feel like in some of these losses, Kyle overthinks it, or sometimes it gets too conservative. It's like if he ain't in that middle and the rhythm isn't established, it gets funky. And
I thought he was aggressive on that 4th and 1. That was cool to see that we didn't go for the field goal in the beginning of the game. We went for it, but of course
then he throws a little out. I mean, there's so much you
if
can
it wasn't
do.
tipped at the line, you know, Jennings may have came down with it, but he
I just
was
feel like
aggressive.
I don't know, man. Yeah, it just.
You feel like we should have ran the ball there? I can see that too.
I would have picked 4 or 5 other different plays, whether it be a book. I don't know. I would have tried to dial something upward to where you maybe have a little bit more control of the situation, to where like it's not one read, just let it rip. It you know, sometimes it works. Hey, if it would have worked, maybe I you know, I wouldn't be saying it, but it didn't work. And then when it doesn't work, it's like, and then you think about it, it's like, man, we could have got a little bit, you know, 4th and 1. We're trying to score. You would think you would dial up, you know, something. You know, typically in those situations, it's like, you know, a walk-in touchdowns when it's CMC, I guess, or but it can't always just be blamed on one guy being out. I don't care whether it be Debo, whether it be CMC. If you are this good of a coach, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. You can't say, oh, 30% of the game plan is out the window now. Nah, man, you had all training camp, you know, to kind of get it together. So I just hate when multitude of different ways start getting blamed when it comes to players, but it's up to the coach to put them in the best position. So
which
that's
I
how I
don't
see it.
think Kyle does versus the blitz. I
No.
don't think Kyle's very good versus the blitz. Like he doesn't have the necessary hot reads. Not every like what's up. Can we simplify offense a little bit? Like I'm watching some of these games. I'm watching Red Zone, right? When teams are playing man, you get these rub routes, right? Where you kind of rub the wide receiver rubs off on a linebacker to free up the halfback in the flat. Like
Yep.
we don't get that with Kyle. Like Kyle that's too simple for Kyle. Kyle wants to draw it up where the receiver's running wide open or has a few steps, which I get, but why not manufacture separation, use some of these rub routes? But Amin, what's a negative? What kind of ticked you off watching this game?
I mean, Kyle is obviously one. I mean, we could sit up here and make an excuse and be like, all right, Christian McCaffrey wasn't there, but the Niners had Jimmy Garoppolo at QB and didn't have Christian McCaffrey on this team. And you could make the argument that offense looked better with Jimmy G and no Christian McCaffrey in terms of the creativity, in terms of guys, Kyle Shanahan scheming guys open, than it's looked this year. And even at times last year where the offense just looks dull. It looks stale. It looks like an old bag of chips. Like it's not. We could sit up here and say that you don't have Christian McCaffrey, but this Niners team has so much talent that, like, Kyle, I can't give you that excuse that, all right, Kyle, you don't have Christian McCaffrey, because the offense, like the first drive, coming out and pass, you had Jordan Mason, who had like a 130-yard game with a touchdown. You come out the game with 3 direct passes. Like, that doesn't make sense. And even, like, I get it. People are like, oh, Kyle Shanahan went for it on the 4th and 1. I like that aggressiveness, but going back to last week against the Jets, you had a fourth and 1 near the end zone, like, put their throats on their neck, like, game over, let's finish this. And Kyle elected to kick the field goal, like he was being safe. But it's like, at times, Kyle, when I want you to be aggressive, you don't be aggressive. And at times, we're like, I get it why you're being aggressive, but it's not necessarily like I'm asking you to be aggressive. You do it. And even if it worked and it didn't work, I'm not saying because it didn't work, that's why I'm calling it out. You're on mute, baller.
Yeah, it's like, where's the consistency?
Yeah. Where's the consistency, right? In terms of the play calling in that game yesterday, right? Like, in terms of the play calling, that 3rd and 1 in the red zone. If you score that touchdown, it's a tie game. You have literally baby Marshawn Lynch. Everybody calls him baby Marshawn Lynch on a 3rd and 1. It doesn't matter if Christian McCaffrey isn't playing. Jordan Mason can pick up that 3rd down. And even then, even if he doesn't pick it up, and it's like 4th and half a yard, you could QB sneak it with Purdy. You could give the ball back to Jordan Mason. What's the higher probability play, Kyle? Throwing a screen pass to Debo and trying to get the touchdown on 3rd and 1, or having 2 tries with Jordan Mason or Brock Purdy? Doesn't make sense in that situation. And, like, that's one huge negative that I had in this game. Kyle Shanahan, obviously, like, I don't know what you're doing. Jacob Cowing, I mean, he made a mistake. I'm not going to fault him for that mistake, but you're probably in the doghouse because of that, because Kyle doesn't like those things. Even was it Isaac Grendo? Yeah, it might have been Grendo, where, like, he had that 1 carry, didn't do nothing with it. I don't know if he gets, more carries after that. I mean, like, Kyle Shanahan is very strict when it comes to his rookies. But overall, it was just a sloppy game. It was a sloppy game. I can't blame certain guys like Fred Warner, Jordan Mason, even Brock Purdy, who tried his best. But even then, Brock Purdy, like, the interception, what was that read? That was the biggest Jimmy Garoppolo read I've ever seen in my entire life. There's a linebacker standing right there, and you try to fit it in? Like, what was the read there? Like, Brock, like, what do you, like, I don't understand that either. But that was still one play in the game that wasn't, that huge of a deal. But I told you backstage, baller, and I'm just going to be real, and whatever anybody wants to say about it can, speak your mind in the chat. But even the way that the Niners come out, like, with the boombox and everything, and the Niners put out this tweet, like, oh, bring it, like, like, we got this, bring it. Y'all haven't won, like, respectfully, y'all haven't won shit for, like, the last 3 or 4 years. And you guys are out here with the boombox and, like, dancing before the game, acting like y'all are the Chiefs who have, like, 2 back-to-back Super Bowls. Like, the Chiefs aren't out here doing that. And you're out here doing that, and you could say, you know what, it's the time, young guys like to do that. But, like, y'all aren't like y'all are the best team statistically in the league year after year after year, yet they have 0 rings to show for it. 0. Like at a certain point, you got to be like, all right, we haven't gotten it done. What can we do differently? But it's almost like every single year, the Niners act like they're the best team in the league, and they come out thinking they're going to win it again, which they're talented enough to. But do they have the mindset realistically to come out and just take care of business? Like, I like it when the Niners come out in all black suits to try to play the Eagles, acting like it's a funeral, like the Eagles funeral. Like, I respect that. Go out there, stand, take care of business, do that. But I mean, after another Super Bowl loss, week 1, I didn't see the boombox, but week 2 coming out with the boombox, doing all the dances with Debo and Trent, and it's like, y'all haven't won nothing. So
I got an idea. Stop
acting like y'all won. Like y'all haven't.
Even the youngsters, do y'all not hear this 49ers? Even the youngsters don't care about the boombox. You know, it's, hey, I get it. It's used to maybe hype y'all up. They should not let them. They should let them do it at the end of the game if they win. They should be able to do like the walkout entrance. They should all be, blast
I like
them.
that.
They should. Hey, how about that incentive? Hey, Debo, hey, Trent, hey, all y'all that love that entrance, you want the smoke, you want the lights, you want to be in the little, it's like P. Diddy in the videos, he want to be in all the videos. That's the vibe I get from it. You want that kind of, oh, hey, this is WWE 49ers right here, man. We're making an entrance. We're fighters. You want that? Hey, do it after you win the game. Let's see. Hey, give them a little incentive. Well, hey, could you imagine Kyle coming out? Hey, y'all want to, we're going to have a little switcheroo on this. Like, y'all can only do it if y'all win.
Yeah, I feel like this attitude with the Niners, it hasn't started this year, hasn't started last year, where the top echelon guys have gotten paid, and it seems like they're happy. You look at the Debo, you look at Trent, they've gotten paid. You look at Demo Lenore in last week's, I think he was interviewed by somebody before the Vikings game, and he said, yeah, Sam Darnold loves to throw the ball to me in practice, and I get interceptions off him. And I'm like, okay, it's cool to talk that talk, but you got to back it up in the game. So I just think they need to stop talking. I agree with Amin. But just like last year, going to Cleveland, getting our asses whooped by Cleveland last year, we're starting fights before the game and all this stuff. Like, you're right, Amin, we haven't won anything. And the guys feel like, you look at them, you would think we've won something, but the Chiefs don't act that way. There should be no celebration after the game. Let's be real. There should be no celebration after a regular season victory. Like, we shouldn't be celebrating that. That should come natural to us. We should be celebrating playoff wins and Super Bowl wins. But I mean, for this team to be so successful, it has the last 5 years with Shanahan. I mean, the regular season wins don't even, it shouldn't phase it. We should be expecting that. But I just think when you start talking and you start making all this money, like IU, where were you? BA, come on, man, where were you? Like Peyton Manning said, man, you got to get into camp. I think he did himself a disservice by not coming to camp, and not only himself but the team. And it's showing out right now. Trent Williams as well. I don't think he had his best game yesterday. I think he's out of shape, but that's expected when you're not in camp. But also I have to mention, the Justin Jefferson play. If you're George Odom, a career special teams guy, Sorensen, I don't know why you have him on bump and run coverage, man to man against Justin Jefferson in the slot. And if you are George Odom, recognize the guy you are about to face off with, man. Why don't you back up? Like, he could obviously outrun you. What are you doing? And it was just, I just don't understand why you put a guy like that in that situation. So I think that's more coaching. But as a player, you have to recognize, I'm going up against the best wide receiver in the planet. I don't think I can hang with him bump and run. Let me back up 10 to 15 yards, whatever. But that was frustrating to see. And Jair Brown obviously was part of that play. He got beat as well. He was supposed to help over the top, and he didn't. So that was definitely frustrating to watch, for sure.
Jay, I'm glad you brought that up, because I had to go back after the game and like rewatch it, and I'm like, okay, who was on the field? What was the personnel? Why the hell is George Odom in the slot covering the best wide receiver in the world? And so, okay, the Vikings, obviously they were backed up by their end zone, and they ran out there was only 2 wide receivers on the field. Okay, so the Niners were in base personnel. We had 3 linebackers out there, but the Vikings had their 2 receivers next to each other to the right of Darnold. Like Demo, I think it was Demo was the other corner. He was
on the opposite side.
He's way on the opposite side of the field, like covering a tight end or something. And this is not the first time I've seen our safeties get matched up on wide receivers. And I've brought it up on here maybe last year or so. Usually
we've seen Gibson get beat plenty of times.
Gibson. Yeah, it's usually I'm complaining about why is Tayshaun Gibson guarding so-and-so in the slot, right? So it's like we've seen this before and we haven't corrected it. So that's the problem. Like you got to flip it, if they got to figure it out defensively. The offense should not be able to scheme up mismatches to get their top receiver in the slot on our safety. Like that's just not right. The logic is not there. There needs to be some kind of signal for like, okay, Demo, get your ass over here. I'm going to go over there. I'm a safety. Because even on there was like 2 tight ends on that side by Demo. So who's going to take, if it was a run that way, who would take on those blocks better? Demo or, a safety in George Odom. So that was just a schemed mismatch that probably Kevin O'Connell probably told his team when we line up in this formation, JJ, you're going to get someone in the slot who you can cook. And that's what happened. And Jair also, just like you said, Jair, he's the deep third safety. Like that's supposed to be like nothing over the top. So anyway, I'm glad you hit on that. There's a couple more negatives you guys just left queued up for me. And it was, I'm the special teams, right? You talked about the cowing, a muffed punt, near muff. Luckily, Niners retained that ball. But the blocked punt, man, you got to clean up these special teams, man. That just can't happen. Like that's a game flipping, momentum shifting play. It's inexcusable. It's unacceptable. And even after it did get blocked, right? Why did the whole team freeze? Like I know you're taught, like when you're back there on that punt coverage, you're listening, right? You hear the punt, and if you hear another thud, that tells you there's a problem. That's like code red, right? That means it was just tipped. It was blocked. It was something. The ball was blocked. Wishnowski is just looking at the player on the ground. Other guys are turned around just looking at it. It's like, dude, he's on the ground. Touch him.
Right.
And then he would have been downed right there. But they allowed him to pick it up and run with it. So
is that the first blocked punt? Mitch Wisnowski blocked punt? It feels like because you're explaining it like hey, this has never happened before. Which way do I go, George? Like kind of just that did seem hella clueless, bro. It's like hey, we're on a live football field right now. You might
it looked like he just froze in the moment instead of jumping on the ball or at least down in the guy. Yeah, he just froze.
Said, "Oh shit, we have never practiced a block punt. We have never practiced this. Like we don't practice 2-minute drills."
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one that pissed me off. That was a big game changer. And then, I got to get on Purdy. Like I love to praise Purdy, but this was not one of his best games. I saw him missing open reads. Like there's a couple times receivers are open, Debo on a curl route and Purdy's just holding it, getting sacked, right? Took 6 sacks? Like, come on. We got to get the ball out. And usually that's a strength of Brock and all of us. We've praised it. Usually he's decisive, and he gets the ball out. He distributes it. But I just thought he was off. I think Flores got Purdy thinking too much. Maybe he was thinking. I'm trying to come up with excuses for him, but it wasn't a good game from Brock. The interception was bad, like you said. Throwing it into traffic like that. There's a linebacker. There's DBs there. That was a bad pick. And then, dude, what's up with the Jimmy G fumble, dog? I was having PTSD flashbacks. He's, like, what are you doing? That was a Jimmy G play. Brock, you're better than that. And honestly, that transitions us right into the step you game up because I'm going Brock. Brock, you're the leader of this team. I know you're only making $1 million right now, but you're going to be making a whole hell of a lot of money next year. And regardless of what you're making, you got to play better football, cleaner football. You can't fumble it like that. You can't throw it into traffic or miss these open reads that lead to you taking sacks and, getting into bad down and distances. So Brock is my step your game up. But Amin, who you calling out that needs to step their game up?
Kyle Shanahan.
Damn.
Kyle, like, I'd rather win ugly than lose pretty, right? Like, I'd rather you win pounding the football down teams' throats, having, like, Jimmy Garoppolo days, having 10-minute drives, taking up the first quarter, just running the football down teams' throats and putting up points and putting up touchdowns, and you trying to throw a screen pass to Debo and trying to pull out trick plays in week 1. Like, I'd rather you win ugly than lose pretty. And Kyle, like, at a certain point, we've seen the pattern with coaches, defensive coaches that bring the blitz a lot more. Kyle struggles with that, and y'all touched on that. But this is your second time playing Brian Flores in this Vikings defense. And this offense didn't look any better. If not, it got worse, right, than the first time we played them last year. And even with Spagnuolo, like, the Week 7 matchup is coming up again at Week 7 or Week 8 against the Chiefs. But it's like, Kyle, at a certain, like, even with players, coaches, you see the development throughout the years of how a player might improve on certain things or how a coach might improve on certain things. Kyle, like, in all the years that you've been here, have you really made any adjustments? Like, have I seen you have any certain level of growth ever, right? And even if it's not necessarily on the field, even off the field, being like, all right, I messed up. This is what I should have done better. I could have fixed this. Even off the field, it's like, oh, we called this play. I thought it was great for this situation. It didn't end up happening. So be it. Like, nah, dude. On the field, off the field, there's no growth from Kyle, right? And you're the leader of the football team. You're the coach. You're supposed to be the leader of this football team. But if you're not holding yourself accountable, how do you expect to hold have the rest of the team accountable? You just can't, right? So from that standpoint, like, Kyle, I just, like, you have to step your game up. And if this team is too talented, this team has come way too far to fall short year after year after year. And if you're doing this week 2, what's going to happen in the playoffs, or even if we get to the Super Bowl, right? And you have to face Spagnuolo again, or if you have to play the Vikings in the playoffs, right? Just a hypothetical. Like, what are you going to do then? Because other coaches are willing to adjust or try to make the adjustments needed. But you, on the other hand, are like, I'm Kyle Shanahan. I'm a genius. I don't care what other people think. But, like, yeah, Kyle. But one more real quick, baller, is Nick Bosa. Like, I'm not going to hate because he had the 2 sacks. It was cool. You had the 2 sacks. But even the 2 sacks, Sam Darnold, that one play, held the ball too long. Like, I don't know how you don't at least hear or feel Nick Bosa, breathing down your neck. But, like, Nick Bosa, you got ran on so much yesterday. Like, the Vikings were targeting your side, and you couldn't do nothing. Like, Nick Bosa, I'm not going to lie, when I see Aiden Hutchinson having 4, 5 sack games, I'm seeing Max Crosby. I went back and watched the Raiders game because they were showing the Raiders-Ravens game. Like, Max Crosby was in on almost every single play or every other play getting pressure on Lamar Jackson, right? When I see Nick Bosa, I'm like, I'm still not impressed. 2 sacks, but both those 2 sacks were whatever. Like, they were like Sam Darnold was holding the ball too long. Sam Darnold, the other one, tried to extend the play, but it wasn't like, all right, Nick Bosa getting the pressure, making the play in dominant fashion. It was like, all right, you got the sack. It counts on your stats, but it wasn't like, all right, Bosa. But it didn't impress me. Let's put it like that.
Kelts, let me know, man. Who's got to step their game up?
It is Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. And but hey, let's just start with that. Let's just start with that main relationship, and it's not the relationship needs. Well, I guess it does need to step its game up. But I was thinking about when Brock Purdy first came to when he first started versus the Dolphins. One of my first feelings was like, yes, or how do I explain this? In my mind, I'm like, all right, we're down to the 3rd string. Maybe Kyle's going to say Effie. Maybe Kyle's going to just like relax and kind of like we're down enough. I remember talking to you guys about this. Maybe he's finally relaxed. Maybe he's finally like, all right, man, the season might go to shit. Let me just like kind of let Brock do his thing. And then what? We rip off like 8 straight wins. I mean, Brock is just it's like they were trying to figure each other out. So Kyle wasn't so overcompensating, or it just felt like he was loose, and Brock took it. And sometimes you get like lightning in a bottle, but then the Eagles game came, and the lead up to the Eagles game, and I was so pissed off. And I'm talking to you guys. Oh, they want Brock to stay in the pocket. They don't want him bailing out. And just to even hear that as a young dude, you've been winging it. You're floating. You got the whole team going, man. This is like, a movie, what's happening, and then Kyle got in his head. I don't know. I don't know how much the tug and pull and what how the relationship is, but it just feels everything that we've ever said about Brock. Like, oh man, I feel confident. I don't get those. It's starting to feel a little tight, and sometimes over time, relationships don't always go great. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes relationships, the longer they stay together, sometimes stuff can start getting sour if you don't hit the problem. If you don't communicate it out and recognize what's going on. And there could be little things that both of them might not be bothered, but they sound like Kyle always sounds like he comes hella honest, or he's always communicating them with him brutally and whatnot. I just hope Brock takes the next step to do the same thing. Brock said that he wants to, do his Tom Brady thing, and he wants to dominate this year. Well, there's got to, I don't know, when there's a check down, I think it was last week where he passed at Mason on some check downs. He's looking at Debo right there, trying to go maybe for the longer shot. It feels like he's staying in the pocket. Maybe that's how they're coaching it up. Maybe Kyle's like, if you stay in the pocket a tick longer, you could have hit that guy, but you bail out. I don't know, but it feels off. But I will say that Kyle got out coached. John Lynch Jr., just it reminded me of Andy Reid, what the Chiefs did to us, I think, in 2002, where they ran to Bosa's side and just like took Bosa out the game, running it to his side. I mean, the guts that O'Connell showed to do play action, from the 2-yard line. I mean, let's not forget, he not only did he get the matchup that he wanted, with Odom on Jefferson, but then to do play action when I just don't think Kyle would have ever like risk a safety to get a matchup to hit him for the longest play against us ever in history. I mean, it was beautiful. And then if Warner doesn't punch that ball out, right before Warner punched that ball out at the goal line, all I'm thinking is this dude McConnell's going for the kill shot. Like, this is what I wish Kyle does. Like he's going to take it. Like I had the tweet lined up. It's about to be 27-7. And then the miracle of, Warner punches it out, but it's like, hey, but it took a Hall of Fame play to stop that because they were rolling. And it was because not just being aggressive and going for it on a 4th and 2, but just getting the matchups you want, not being complacent,
Going for it, dude.
Working to strengths. One of Brock Purdy's major strengths was his quick feet and improvising, especially when we got guys who weren't getting a lot of separation. A lot of those times when you see some of those separations besides the deep crossers from Ayuk is because Purdy's improvising, pointing someone to go another way. He's wide freaking open, or Purdy's moving up out the way. All of a sudden he has Debo because of those one extra second longer from the improving. You feel me? It's like that's his major strength from my eyes, besides anticipation and being a leader, is when he's able to get away. Of course, guys are going to break open, and we're seeing less and less of it, which I think is coaching telling him, hey, stay in. We don't want you running crazy to get hurt. But when he was running crazy, he was protecting himself, and he was balling and making plays. It feels like the relationship is kind of reverted, but maybe, hey, just as quick as we went on that stretch last year where we lost 3 straight, they came back, and then CMC and Brock Purdy turned themselves into MVP candidates. So, we had a sputter last year where I was like, I don't know about, man, Brock's looking a little, after we played the Browns and Minnesota and the Bengals. It's like, I don't know what's kind of going on here. But then they flipped it around, and we look like the greatest team since the 94 Niners. So it's early, but it brings back flashbacks that this same game that happened with the Vikings is something similar onto what's going to happen when the season ends. That's just the feelings I get. Like that's the same coach I see when he faces good coaches like Andy Reid in the biggest moment at the end of the season. It just feels like those are the kind of things that happen where I'm like, dude, it's like we've been in shotgun for like 26 straight times on third down. Could we do something different, please, genius?
No, absolutely. Well said, man. I could go in a lot of different directions with step your game up. The first thing I think of is the 49ers D line. You got to be able to establish the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to stuff the run. And that's something that I thought we were solid like in the first maybe quarter and a half. I think Jones didn't really go off, and we've seen Aaron Jones when he was in a Packer uniform go off on us. I believe it was the previous season. But I think we held him in check. But
in
Chandler
the playoffs,
definitely,
he went off on us in the playoffs last year.
I mean, I guess you could say which running back didn't go off on us in the playoffs, even Detroit. But Chandler definitely got some chunk runs, and Bosa definitely needs to get better. Keeping his outside free. It seems like he always tries to crash in, and then the running back just goes right around him. But I heard a crazy stat. I like listening to Larry Krueger, Bay Area legend, and he had a stat that I didn't even know existed. But Larry Krueger said through the 2 weeks, the 49ers offense is averaging the lowest target separation in the NFL. We have the worst target separation in the NFL, and that's 2.9 yards. And the Panthers are next worst with 3 yards. I didn't even know that existed. Supposedly last year, we had the 13th best wide receiver separation, so we need to get back to that. So I need the wide receivers to step their game up, especially with Debo being out for the next couple of weeks. I mean, it's BA right now. BA is Jennings. We'll see a little bit of Chris Conley. Kittle will get more involved, but the wide receivers have to step their game up, allow Purdy more opportunities to get you the ball by creating more separation, because he did throw into a lot of, even the first drive, third down, he threw to Debo, even though I think he kind of threw that late, in my opinion. I think if he would have threw it a little bit sooner, the defender wouldn't have had the opportunity to jump and block the pass from Debo, first 3 and out. But yeah, that's my step your game up. Defensive line, stuff to run, and then wide receivers got to get better separation. Help out your quarterback, man. Help out Purdy.
Yeah, and while we're on that, Debo sucks. It sucks that Debo's going to miss some time. Sounds like he's going to miss a couple games. Yeah. But who do you guys envision of stepping up as a pass catcher, right? We know BA has to step up, right, and kind of start earning that money that he just got paid. Juwan Jennings, we know how consistent Juwan is. Juwan's going to be out there more, but I'm looking at Jacob Cowing. Do you guys, is it unrealistic of me to think that Jacob Cowing could start getting some snaps and we might, get some speed, get some separation from the youngster?
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, but
sorry to say it, but yeah, just like how Amin was alluding to with the jitters, it looks like it's it looks like it's not Cowing, but Conley season. Yeah. He's a vet. Hey, we seen what he did in a Super Bowl. I mean, that's got to prove, he was sure-handed. He made one of the, a prime catch, I think, versus maybe both games, maybe Green Bay and maybe throughout. Hey, he made some key plays. Anytime it was coming his way, I can't remember him, doing something where I was like, damn, that's why he's on that's why he's further down the depth chart. He's always seemed sure-handed, and I got a little bias, but just looking at the depth chart, just looking at it, the veteran and Rodney Bell as well. I could see Ronnie Bell and Conley being there before Cowing right now, especially already being 1-1. You need a little bit. We need some consistency. We need to get the ball rolling. It's been a little, even with the win, and even though it's early, it's like you just need some rhythm at some point. So I expect it to be like a Conley, but we'll see.
I think Baller's right. They need to give Cowling a chance, get some speed on the field.
First. get the ball in his hands.
Yeah, just can you give him 5 plays a game? Like, is that really asking that much? Maybe some reverses, I don't know, a quick slant. Just add some speed to the field, because right now we really don't have it. I mean, you got rid of Danny Gray, one of the greatest Madden players I ever played with. You got rid of him. I mean, we need some more speed. We know Pearsall isn't really ready. I'm not really expecting him to make a huge comeback, but I hope to see it. I'm just, that's the last thing on my mind for Pearsall. But just add some speed.
I wonder how those numbers are computed, like, because that's kind of like not just showing that the wide receivers need to get separation, but the play calls aren't creating separation. I don't know exactly how those. I don't know how they compute those numbers.
I mean, it is only through the first 2 weeks, but it is a crazy stat.
Yeah,
like,
that
and
means
makes it more difficult for Purdy. That makes it more difficult. Yeah,
plays aren't getting dialed up, and
yeah,
wide receivers aren't getting open. But typically, hey, if your guys are getting, manned up like that, you gotta start doing some east and west and bootleg. You gotta do something to create that counter.
Also, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too much to ask for from Jake. Like Kyle Shanahan, we all know Kyle Shanahan. Jacob Cowing 5 plays? Are you ridiculous? Like, are you out of your mind? Like that? Yeah, it's not. Especially after that muffed punt that almost resulted in the Vikings, getting position, near their touchdown. Like, hell no. Like, Kyle Shanahan. I still remember last year when Jair Brown, unlike, yesterday's game where he was actually pretty solid, had a couple of interceptions leading up to the Packers game, and Kyle Shanahan still was like, Logan Ryan, you just came off of a boat in the middle of the ocean. We're starting you in the divisional round over Jair Brown. And we're like, wait, what? And you're like, yep, because you're the experienced veteran and Jair Brown is a rookie. So, yeah, it's not happening. 5 plays is too much to ask from Kyle Shanahan, from Jacob Cowing. Way too much.
So Shanahan, what's Shanahan's other options? Conley and Ronnie Bell. Yeah. I mean, I would put Cowling over Ronnie Bell. He just, as a receiver, I would put Cowling over him. But
and it's probably a perfect time to try these things, versus a Ram and it. Man, any given Sunday, anything can happen. I know we just seen the Cardinals mollywop them, and we're coming off a tough loss, and we're coming to Levi South, but it's not penciled in for me. I don't know about y'all, but it just seems like the money move is to no matter. There's no way they could lose to the Rams, with all those injuries. There's just hey, man. They always play us tough. McVay is smart enough to know that he doesn't manage time that well to where he got a time expert. I don't know if y'all heard that one or not. Maybe I got to go fact check it, but something happened a little while back where McVay was horrible in a situation. So he went and got himself a time management expert.
I heard that too.
Yeah, man. So maybe I heard it on 95.7 the game or something.
That sounds too self-reflected for Kyle Shanahan. I don't think he'd do that.
You know the thing. You know the thing that sucks. We don't give a damn what you think, Kyle. Like, freaking do what you got to do in the betterment of the team. Does he still really not practice 2-minute drills?
He got one, Kels. He got one. What are y'all talking about? He got Brandon Staley, who obviously didn't blow a 28-7 lead.
Oh, that's why
in the playoff game. He got Brandon Staley, y'all. He got Brandon Staley.
Oh, we got Brandon Staley on the hot seat right now. Sorensen, hot seat. Kyle, safe forever. Layers.
Another, just real quick, step your game up. If we go 2 for 10 on third downs again on offense, we'll probably lose to the Rams as well. That's not going to cut it. We got to get way, way, way better. And we got to get positive yards on the early downs, man. Yeah, and these penalties, man, illegal shift, false start by Trent, holding it's just frustrating to watch, especially after a positive play. Then it's like, oh, it's 1st and 17, 1st and 25.
Jay, I'm glad you brought that up because I thought the penalties were killers. But then it's like after the game, I looked at the box score, and then like the box score didn't say I felt like the box score was misleading in
It
terms
wasn't
of the
that
penalty.
many, but they
It
hurt.
was only like 4. I think the
Yeah.
Niners only committed like 4, and the Vikings committed 7.
Mm.
But watching that game, they were like back-breaking penalties, or just ones that just put you up
Even
at a
like the one
bad
with
down
Ayuk,
distance.
the one with Ayuk, I think it was it 4th and 1, maybe with Ayuk. I forgot what he did. I don't know if it was a legal shift or he wasn't set or something like that. But yeah, we can't. It seems like we can't recover from those penalties. They're just like you said, they're backbreaking, man, for sure.
Yeah, got to clean that up. But why don't we get into a little Niners Rams look ahead? Kelt spoke to it, and actually, hold on, let me pull up the tweet because the Rams got a whole bunch of dudes out. Shoot, did I lose it? No, I got it right here. Rams injury. So Cooper Kupp is going to be out. He's probably going to go on IR. Puka Nakua is already on IR. Tyler Higbee's on PUP. Joe Noteboom's on IR. Another lineman, Leviston's on IR. Tackle Connor McDermott, IR. Steve Avila, IR. Jonah Jackson's probably going on IR. I mean, Darius Williams, the corner, IR. I got to click show more on this tweet. John Johnson, the starting safeties, possibly going on IR. Okay, I mean, the list goes on. The Rams are the most injured team in the NFL right now. They're 0-2 at the bottom of the NFC West. The Seahawks are at the top of the NFC West at 2-0. Cardinals and Niners both 1-1. But you got to figure, even though the Rams are the most injured team, they're banged up. This is a divisional game. Stafford's usually finds ways to keep it somewhat close, right? Like even last year, Stafford, he's got the quick passing game. He's not going to hold on to it too long. So the defense has to be ready to rally to the football, make good tackles because Stafford's going to look to get the ball out quick. And, Kyren Williams, I think Kyren Williams is a really good running back, even though I don't think he was very efficient on Sunday. Kyren Williams, talented player. So got to keep him in check. We know Niners struggled against the run, specifically Ty Chandler, in the Vikings game. So Kyren Williams, that's a guy who I'm looking at, like, got to keep him in check. But hey, when we're previewing this matchup, what are you looking at when you're thinking Niners Rams?
Take care of business, Kyle. Like, take care of business. Go out there. The injuries on that defense you mentioned, like John Johnson, their safety, Darius Williams, their corner, like, go out there and take care of business. They're banged up offensively, defensively. Even if it's not Jordan Mason fully, like, you don't have Deebo Samuel this game, right? It's not even about being the most innovative. You don't have to be hella creative now that Deebo's out. What are you gonna do next? Like, what is the next move or next plan? Like, just be simple. Run the football down their throat. Have freaking, even if it's 10-minute drives, 7-minute drives, just be safe. Play the game. Play smart complementary football. Play smart complementary football. Doesn't have to be too flashy. It doesn't have to be 60-yard touchdown bombs. Just like I said earlier in the show, like, even if it's ugly, like, just get the win, right? So, like, do the simple things, do the basic things, like you did against the Jets, right? Like, run the ball, run the football, have quick passes for Brock Purdy, some slants where you can get the ball out quickly. Like, just be smart about it, Kyle. This is a game where I'm not counting the Rams out, obviously, because they still have Matthew Stafford. But, like, this is a game that you should win and win comfortably at that. It shouldn't be a game where it's like 24-24, Jake Moody down at the last minute for, a game-winning field goal. Like, none of that, Kyle. This should be a game where the Niners should be sitting up there throughout the majority of the game, leading comfortably and winning the game comfortably. So, Kyle, don't ask
give
me
me a
crazy.
score prediction, Amin. Give me that score prediction.
I'm gonna say the offense has been all right so far. So I'm gonna say 24-13.
I'm hoping we score more than 24, but okay. All right. Kelch, when we're previewing this game, what are you looking at between this Niners-Rams matchup?
I'm looking at, typically we own the Rams and Levi South, and just looking back on the history of it, it's like, hey, they got us when it mattered most, man. And so that's kind of a little bitter, just looking back on all that. And hey, the Rams are a wounded animal right now, and sometimes when you try to corner a wounded animal, you get some. I don't know what happens, but sometimes it might not. They might look down and out, but sometimes they got one more good kick in them where they do some damage. But lightning in the bottle, sometimes that
Or you
happens.
go in there thinking that this animal's dead, right? Or dying,
Yeah.
and you're not
Yeah.
expecting nothing. You think, oh, I'm just gonna pick this up and throw it outside. And then
Hey,
it's got a little bit of fight left, you know.
yeah. Sometimes, as a matter of fact, I had a situation not too long ago where, you know, to where something had to, be medicated, and I thought, it was good to go on whatever I had to do, and exactly what you talk about, the thing woke up and it came at me, and it's pretty scary when it happens. You do not expect it, and sometimes you can get bit if you are messing with a wounded animal or animal that is supposed to be asleep or whatever, but it can happen. It's the NFL. We all expected to go to Minnesota, and maybe, yeah, it felt like a trap game. We haven't won since '92, and we lost, man. We didn't expect to lose to the Browns last year, or, some of the losses we had. It always hops up when you least expect it. And the only reason, it just feels almost hard to see the Rams going down 0-3, regardless of all the IRs you said. I'm trying to convince myself to, you know, it just feels like it's just off right now, man. I've never seen, we seen Kyle when he doesn't have just Debo or just CMC, and I think it could get a little uglier before it gets better, y'all. I think at some point, once we do hit our stride, it's going to be like, oh man, this is the '94 Niners again. But right now, I think it could get ugly until it gets better, and I think it could be exactly what you were talking about, Amin, but except for it could be the Rams going 27-24. The Rams.
Oh, I'm looking at Nick
Step your
Sorensen.
game up, Kyle.
Baller, Q the hell knows, Baller. Pull that
Step your
out.
damn
Why is
game
it
up,
always
Kyle.
I gotta find a way to access that thing a little bit quicker.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Yeah, to the no.
Since
Well,
we're
I deserved it.
since we love to blame coaches around here, I'm looking at Nick Sorensen, the defensive coordinator, the hot shot DC. How is he going to game plan against Stafford with a leaky offensive line, multiple guys on IR, not expected to play? We know Stafford likes to get rid of the ball quick. So will we see press man? Will we see George Odom or Malik in man coverage again against their receivers? Tutu Atwell, he's a speedy guy. His stats won't, blow your world, or his stats won't impress you so far, but he still is a weapon out there. He's fast. Obviously, they'll be without Cooper Kupp and Puka. And I noticed Kyron Williams, their running back, he only has 75 yards through 2 games. I mean, that's terrible. He's only averaging about 2.5 yards per carry. So the Niners defense should be able to get pressure on Stafford, and they should be able to stop the run. So I just don't see how the Rams will score. But Stafford he's a pro quarterback. He's not the best of the best. He's not the worst. But hell, he's a Super Bowl winner. He's a pro, and I'm sure he's going to have his team competitive, even though they did get blown out by Arizona last week. But it's a division game in LA. They're back getting their home cooking. But I still think the Niners take this. I think the Niners win 27-13.
Okay. Yeah, that's sounding a little closer to what I'm thinking, Jay. With the Rams, we know they're down their top weapons, but it's Demarcus Robinson. He's a big play threat. Tutu Atwell has some speed. And then they got this rookie, Jordan Whittington, who kind of caught my eye in the preseason. I think he's going to be out there, and he kind of might get his first extended run in the NFL. So there's still some players to keep an eye on. But this D-line should absolutely get after Matt Stafford. Like, Stafford better be getting the ball out quick. Otherwise, this D-line better be all over him, just with the multitude of injuries that the Rams are dealing with along that front. So my score prediction, I think the Niners get to 30. Felt like last year we were putting up 30 points like every week, but Niners getting back to their 30-point ways. I'm going 30-13. So a comfortable win in Levi South. But hey, shout out to the chat. The chat's been live. Make sure you hit that like. All these guys, YouTube channels are in the description. Check that out. Subscribe to them. We're going to be coming at you every Monday. You don't know whose channel it's going to be on. So subscribe to all these guys. But hey, fellas, we're about to wrap it up here. And why don't we just kick it around and just give me some final thoughts on the way out. Kelts?
Hey, as quick
it off.
as quick as things could, feel. Oh, damn, Shanahan, this and step your game up and all this stuff, man. Hey, it could flip that quick. It could flip. That's the NFL, man. That's just the way it works, and it always seems to surprise most of us, me included. And I feel like it could definitely be a game like what Jay was saying, but man, sometimes stuff just gets weird, and I feel like it is going to be that way for a little bit, and it's not going to be surprising, but yeah, that's about it, man. It's going to be a long freaking season. I just hope to see some growth, like Amin was saying, especially with that quarterback and coach, man. Hopefully they could just, who knows? Maybe they are figuring a lot out in these 2 games that we just don't even know about, So, hey, we're going to keep going. And good stuff for everybody coming through. Yee.
Shanahan, I'm begging you, please just run the ball. If you
There you go.
if you want to conserve Mason, I get it. Let Isaac G get some burn. Patrick Taylor, please just run the ball. That'll take off some pressure from Purdy. And like Kel said, it's a long season. It's only week 2. We haven't lost the division. We're not. It's not like we're no longer in contention for the playoffs. It's 1 loss. No one thought we would go undefeated. And hey, when teams beat you, usually they look better than you and they make you look bad. And that's what happened on Sunday. But I think we'll have a lot more wins than losses at the end of the season. And hopefully there's no more injuries against the Rams.
Facts. I mean, what you got for us?
You know how I always like to end off every show, but before we hit that point real quick, like y'all said, like how get it done, run the football, be safe about what you out here doing. Don't need to be all fancy. Hopefully the Niners get it done this week. And like that's the thing about this Niners football team. We can sit up here next week and be like, Kyle Shanahan's a freaking genius, put up 40 on the Rams, never doubt Kyle Shanahan, and then a week later we're like, Kyle, what are you doing? Not again. We're never winning a Super Bowl with Kyle Shanahan and this football team. But looking forward to a division game against the Rams, rivals. But yeah, looking forward to it.
I am. Hey, one thing real quick. My bad. I am hella. I don't think any of us really. I am hella excited to see what Brock is going to do without Debo and CMC though, because he's never. This is going to be his first ever game without the 2. So, and especially in a contract year and yada yada yada. What's it going to look like? Hey, we're going to at least see 2 games, at least 2 games without Brock or without Debo and CMC. So, and my bad. But
no, and real quick before I was hit like the way I always end it, prayers up for Tua, man. Like 4 concussions in like the last 2 years. Prayers up for Tua. I hope he's all right. People are talking about him quitting football. It's not that easy of a decision, man. Like when you really love something, it's not an easy decision to walk away from it. So prayers up to Tua. Hope he's doing all right. But yeah. And then, like we normally end it, bang bang Niner gang.
Yee.
It is.
Hot diggity dog. G12.
Appreciate all y'all in the chat. Hey, we'll be back here next week breaking down this Niners Rams game. So appreciate y'all and catch y'all